Hello, everyone. Hi, 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 hi. Lockdown here, diaries. Hello, hello. I'm so excited about today. Super, super excited. Um, Hello, hello, hello. Hi. Hello, Pastor E. I'm adding you now. Hi, hi, Clemens. Hi, Pastor E.
Hi, Simo. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly. There was a bit of a break there, but I
Okay.
can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you good now.
I think maybe I should add my earphones. Do you think?
Uh, well, I can hear you. I'm
Okay,
pretty cool now.
perfect. I can. Hey, Piniel. Hi, Rati. Hello, everyone. I'm super excited about this, Pastor E.
Oh wow, I'm also quite excited. It's been believe it or not, it's been a while since I've done an interview. I've been hiding from interviews and conversations in public
Some,
places.
someone said that to me. They saw the post and they're like, how come he's doing an interview with you? I was like, I don't know.
Well, it might have something to do with the fact that I've known Simu for a little while longer than just the last.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. But how are you?
That's a loaded question. I'd need to write a book about how I am, but you know, the truth is, I'm really just, I think in a place again of realizing how important purpose is, and how
Yeah.
important it is to focus on what you're supposed to get done in your time, in your lifetime. So if you're asking how am I, I'm focused right now.
Your focus right now. I like that. I think same space as you right now. I feel so focused. I feel so free. My mind is just in a place of, okay, Simo, this is time. We have to move. We
Right,
have to,
right, right. Good,
and
good.
uh, no, you are not getting any younger.
That's
So we have to push the things we need to push. And and I know it's from a foundation that you kind of laid for me when we were at cross culture,
mm,
you know, remember history makers and everything like that. And I think this time of just shut down has brought me to a place of, are you really a history maker? What are you doing? You
oh
know?
yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah,
oh yeah. Look, a lot of people I think don't realize that the most important resource we have is time.
yeah,
And one of the things that I used to say to the young people that I've looked after in different spaces and places is that we are not always together in the same place forever. It's for a
yeah,
season.
yeah,
And so we must get from each other what we need during that season, because when that season is over,
yeah.
you're moving on. And if you
Oh,
didn't get what you're supposed to get during that season
yeah.
from the different people you are meeting or from the different places you are in, you're going to have some missing bits and pieces in the future. You probably will still get them, but it's going to be more expensive and it'll
Yeah.
take you a long time.
Yeah. And Pastor E, though, like, I think the one place we can start from is from a place of, one, maybe knowing what you're supposed to do. I mean, how do you get to that place? I think for most people it's not knowing how they're supposed to get to that place. We are in life and we are told to do different things.
Right.
We are pushed certain directions by life and circumstances and everything. But how does one get to a place where they fully know what they're supposed to be doing?
Well, it's a journey. Let me put it this way:
Yeah,
it's a journey, not a destination. Knowing what you're supposed to be doing is not something that you are ever going to fully find out at any one point.
Okay.
It's a journey. You're discovering more. I mean, look back when you were younger, some of the things that you wanted to do. You know, when I was 5, most of us, when we were 5, we wanted to be pilots, we wanted to be doctors. Okay,
Yes.
clearly, if I became a doctor today, you're gonna have some problems. You know,
I'm going to hospital.
so it's a journey. You're discovering yourself, and this is what I think. What a lot of people just don't do is they don't give themselves the opportunity to learn themselves, the opportunity to know themselves, the opportunity to be creative about who they are and who they're becoming. We
Yeah.
will not all become, you know, some sure thing at the same time. There's some people who claim to know what they're supposed to be doing straight away. Some people only find out when they're 50. Some people find out when they're 60. There's nothing wrong with that. What
All
is
right.
important is that you don't stop the journey of discovering yourself, exploring who you are, your capabilities. There are capabilities I never knew I had 10 years ago and only found out 3 years ago about
Wow.
what I can do. There are
Oh,
dreams I didn't know I had
yeah.
until years ago. I began to think, wait a minute, this is something that I can do or that I want to do or that I'm passionate about.
Wow.
So it's a journey. And when you arrive at these different locations, you can look back and take stock and say, okay, you know what? That I don't need that. I'm not going to do that. This I don't need that. I'm not going to do that. But
Wow.
these things I'm going to keep as I'm going forward. So this is a journey. It's not a destination and something you find out straight away.
That's amazing, Pastor E, because you know what? Most of the time, like now, if people look at you, they think you had it figured out from the beginning. Like it was set,
Oh,
like you had this whole figured out. Your script was written, and you knew what you were going to do.
oh my gosh. You know what I find amazing about that is that,
Yeah.
and I always say this to people, if you came and you told me 6 years ago, you
Yeah.
told me 6 years ago, in fact, let's talk about 2015. If you
Mm.
told me in 2015 that
Yeah.
I would end up in Chikurubi maximum security prison, not once, but
Yeah.
and not twice, but 3 times. If you told me that I would be facing a charge for treason 3 times and facing almost 60 years in prison, I would have told you you're crazy. I would have
Oh,
told you you're mad. Okay.
yeah.
But these are things that I have discovered along the way. However, I think I must be clear in saying that when I look back on the journey, there are clues. When I
Okay.
then look back, like, oh, is that what that was all about? You know what I mean? My
Okay.
passion for our nation, it
Yeah.
began years ago. If
Okay.
you know me, like you know me, so I
Yeah.
really ranted on and on
Yeah.
and on about Zimbabwe young people making a difference. So if you had told me that the journey would look the way it is, I would have
Yeah.
told you. If you told me that I would end up on the podiums of the United Nations, that I would end up speaking at Harvard,
That's
Oxford
it.
University, London School of, I would have told you you are crazy. You're crazy. But I've stuck on the journey and I've kept on discovering. And even now, I'm still finding out, oh, this is who I am. This is what I'm capable of doing. And I'm taking all the good things and
Yeah.
extracting those and saying, okay, I'm going to keep on doing this for the next, season until I find out what the next level is, until I find out what the next junction is.
Yeah. And have you been afraid? I mean, have you been afraid? Because confident. I mean, have you what has helped you break through the fears, if ever you've been afraid?
This is a really, really good question and something that I've actually been studying, for myself and in different places where I speak. Um, Fear, I think you have to understand that if you're going to be someone who is on a journey to make an impact,
Yeah.
for your family, for let's start with yourself, for yourself, your family, your
Yeah.
community, or your nation, or the world, understand that fear is going to be a constant companion.
Okay.
Okay, for world changers, for history makers, fear
Wow.
is a constant companion. All
Okay.
right.
All right.
However, you have to know how to deal with this companion because this companion doesn't leave you.
All right. All right.
The, he's always there or she's always there. I'm not sure what gender fear is, but it's
Yeah.
always there knocking on the door saying to you, are you sure, Simu, about this thing that you want to do?
Mm.
Or saying, Ivan, do you know where people have ended up who've done this kind of thing that you're trying to do? I
Yeah.
know people who've gone broke doing what you're
Oh,
trying to do. I know
yeah.
people who have died doing what you're trying to do. And here's what happens with this fear. Fear comes in the form of different things. Sometimes it comes in the form of people around us that we have always known, or people that know us well.
Yes.
Okay. Those are the ones who come and say, and usually if someone says to you, you know what's about to
Oh,
happen.
oh,
You
yeah.
know they're about to tell you something. And then there are people that care for you. And you know what? Sometimes it is the most well-meaning of concerns,
Yeah.
but it plants a seed of fear. Now, the key thing,
Yeah.
and this is from the last unexpected 3.5 years of my life, the
Yeah.
key thing for me is to be able to make a decision to go ahead and do what you really feel you need to do at that time in the face of fear. That's
Wow.
what we call courage.
Okay.
Okay? Courage is the decision
Yeah.
to go ahead and do what you believe
Wow.
despite the fear.
Wow.
And a lot of people, what happens is that we are stuck
Yeah.
side of fear, where fear is holding our hand. And fear keeps saying, are you sure you want to make the jump? Are you sure you want to make the jump? Because
Yeah.
on the other side of this, you don't know what's there. You don't know what's there. But the problem is that on the other side of the jump is impact. On the other side of the jump is fulfillment. On the other side of the jump
Wow.
is the fulfillment of what you have always wanted to do.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Like for me right now, Pastor E, I think I told you this when I said, Pastor E, please could you come onto the platform? I've
Right.
always do this, like always. But like you're saying, there are voices that speak. First yourself, like your whole mind. Like for me,
Uh,
I've had to fight through the fear of just me. I told myself stuff. People
right.
told me, I was afraid of my English even. I had friends would laugh in my face if I missed a verb or something I
Uh,
pronounced differently. And so I was silent for a long time because they were very dear to me. But I could not believe that. I just thought if they could laugh, the world is going to have me. The world is going to chop me up.
Well, you know what's interesting with what you're saying is this: we live in a society that has taught us to be very careful about being different from the norm.
Yeah.
Okay. And so deviation is something that our societies does not like. Being unusual is something our society does not deal with very well, because everyone wants people to be the same, because when you start to change, you create work for us. Okay,
Wow.
Simu? When you start to be different, you're making us busy, because now we have to go and reorient our whole world to fit you in about what we understand. We've always known is that Simu is either a teacher, or we've always known that Simu is an electrician at ZESA. You remember that? And so when she starts to change, I'm like, why are you changing? Why are you trying to do this? You need to just stay the way you are, because I've got a certain world in which you fit. And so when you start to change, you're giving me work. You're giving me
Wow.
work. And that
Wow.
is one of the only reasons people would get upset. I'll never forget this in 2016 when I began to speak out and I
Yeah.
began to open my mouth about what was wrong with our country. A lot of people came up and said, "Uku ndo kufarisa uku. Kwa wampita uku."
I was
Okay.
praying for Pastor E. I was like, Lord.
You know what I mean? And the thing is, I don't blame people. I don't blame people, because this is the way we're wired. We are
Yeah.
wired to deal with normal. We're wired to deal with usual. That's the way it's got to be. When something changes, we're like, okay, we need to understand what's going on. But here's what's interesting. Whenever that thing eventually changes and everybody starts to see this thing grow and take shape,
Yes.
the changes and shifts towards that, and that becomes the norm, and that
That's
becomes change. So courage again is about being bold enough to continue to do what you believe is you,
wow.
despite the fact that the norm says this is out. This exactly, you're deviating.
Yeah.
Okay, you are a misfit. That word misfit. Are you? If you really want to have impact, if you really want to see changes, around you, be prepared to be a misfit.
Wow.
To be someone or something that does not fit.
Wow.
Hey, this is
and we don't want that, Pastor E. Of the time, you know, we want to fit in, we want to be cool, we want to be, you know, we just want to be just down there. What I want to ask you as well is what gave you the courage? Like, I see you are a pastor, but you have gotten into the country and the issues that we face in Zimbabwe. How do those things balance? I mean, like, how do you balance being a pastor and also now you're getting into like politics in a way? Like, how do you match?
I like this because it goes back to what I've just started talking about, the norm. The norm is that pastors are, this is what Robert Mugabe said to me, and it still boggles my mind that sometimes when I look back and I see you know, the things that he did, and the fact that sometimes I look back and I think, Ivan, what were you doing? Are you crazy? But one of the things that he said, you pastors need to leave our politics alone.
Yeah.
And he said, you, and this is in a speech. He said, you pastors, the Mawarires, you remain preaching. If you come to our politics, we have special jails for people like you. Now, the problem with that is that he was creating a world that was ideal for him.
Yeah.
All right. And it was up to me and everyone else to make a decision to say, do we live in his world or do we start to create our own world? Exactly. How bold are you to create your own world?
Wow.
How bold are you to look at your world and say, you know what, I want to make this thing different from what everyone else is doing. But let me go back to the core of your question.
Yeah.
This whole thing of politics and you're a pastor and so forth. Where do we draw the line?
Yeah.
I'm a pastor, yes, but understand that I'm also a citizen.
All right.
And in the same, so in those two offices or those two beings of mine, those two, they cross. As a pastor, I should stand for justice. If I'm looking into my community and I can see the vulnerable being abused, my job is not to keep quiet. My job is to speak up. The Bible says so in Proverbs. It says, speak up for the weak, speak up for the orphan, speak up for the widow. So I said, no, I'm going to go ahead and speak. Even when you look through the Bible, oh, come on. When you look through the Bible, how many times do you see these prophets who literally, in today's terms, they would be activists who went up to kings and they said, King, you cannot do what you've just done. It was John the Baptist who went to Herod and said to him, King Herod, you have taken your brother's wife. This is not right. And what did the king do? He killed him. It was Nathan who went up to King David and said to him and told him a little story about a king who abused someone, and the king said, off with his head, and Nathan said, that person is you.
Yeah.
Okay. It was Jesus who went and he said to I mean, come on, guys, there is no distinction or separation here. All right. As a pastor, I'm not confined to the pulpit. I live in a community of people. And so my job is to bring a balance between the reality that people live in terms of life and what we preach in the gospel. There can't be a disconnect.
Wow. That's
there
amazing.
Cannot be a disconnect.
Yeah. And what I love that, Pastor E, because I think my thinking is that I think the world is actually supposed to be coming to the church for solutions. We are supposed to be giving the answers and the solutions and how to do things, because we know that we have a truth that can get into every sphere of influence. You know, it's not just in the church only, in the four walls of the church, but it permeates every aspect of life.
Oh, of course it does. And I think this is what we don't understand as Christians. It's what we don't understand as people who believe in God, that we have got the word God tells us and says that the whole of creation waits in earnest manifestation, waits in earnest for the manifestation of the sons and daughters of God. So it is our willingness to step out and speak. Let me put it this way. Okay, let me put it this way. It is, you know, when I do that, I'm about to go off. So it is our belief in the strength of our answer that causes us to step out and say, I am here. Okay.
Wow. Wow.
So it's not that the gospel is weak. It's not that God is not alive. It's just that Christians are not confident of the answer. When I was in class many years ago as a student in high school or primary school, when the teacher would ask a question and I thought I knew the answer, if I wasn't confident about the answer, I would kind of put my hand up slightly, or I would look around to see if anyone else was putting up their hand. And if no one was putting up their hand, I'm thinking, I'm not putting, because I wasn't confident about the answer. If the church was confident that God is the answer, that Jesus is the answer, that the word is the answer, we would not hesitate to step up to medical challenges. We would not hesitate to step up to political challenges. We would not hesitate to stand up to justice issues. We wouldn't hesitate to save a young people that are dying in Zimbabwe of drugs and drug abuse. We wouldn't, because we would be confident. So if you ask me, why did you step up as a pastor? Didn't you think this was going to destroy you? And by the way, this has taken a lot from my life. But I was, and I'm still confident that there is an answer. There's something to be said about righteousness. There's something to be said about humility. There's something to be said about compassion and empathy and mercy.
Wow. Pastor E. Ha! Oh my, wow. The confidence in the word. That's a challenge.
Say again?
Can you hear me?
Yes, say again.
I'm saying that's a challenge to say, are we confident in the word? Are we confident?
Oh, yeah.
That's the big question. So do you think that's the reason a lot of young people have not been able to step out?
I think so. I think that's the reason why. And let me throw something. Let me throw the pigeon amongst the cats here, or should I say, let me throw a cat amongst the pigeons. See, the thing about young people understand this thing called genuineness. They know the real deal from the fake thing. Okay. They know it because young people are the ones who create the game. So they know a game when they see a game, and they know genuine when they see genuine. All right. Okay. The problem we've had is that we have had generations before us that have wasted time, that have become fake, that have not operated, and they have not moved and pushed in the reality of who God is. They themselves became tired chasing God. They couldn't find it. So you know what? They just presented a plastic and a gospel that is about spectatorship, and it's not about impact, and it's not. So they would rather preach things that they don't do themselves.
Wow.
And so you have a generation of young people that look at pastors and prophets and want to become like them because of the suits. They want to become like them because of the crowds. They want to become like them because of what they're doing, and not because of what they can, not because of the impact that they see. I can see you now, but I think it keeps breaking up. Now I can't hear you. Oh, shame. Nope. Now I'm frozen.
Um, I
All right.
Pastor E. Are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
Yes, the enemy is a liar. Sorry about that. I'm so sorry about that. I don't know what happened there.
Neither do I. I don't know. It could have been my side. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Anyway,
Yes,
I don't know. What was I saying?
you were talking about young people, how young people know the real deal.
So you know, so young people, they know the real deal. They can spot the genuine thing a mile away. But what has happened is that generations before us have become performers. They've become more enamored with the way they look with the crowds than they are with the actual impact. And so young people have looked at that and they've said, that's what I want. I want the suits. I want the lights and the stage. I want the cars and the fame and the thousands of people following me. And we've given up the impact. We've given up the history making, and we've traded it for the popularity. We've traded it for being known and being well known. And this is where the problem is, that doing something that changes people's lives is less about becoming well known and more about you fulfilling your purpose, you being fulfilled because you did something that changed one person's life. I've always said this, and I'm going to this back to you just now, is I've always said this, that one of the problems we have had as men of God or women of God, and I say we because I'm part of that, is that we have tended to love the crowd but hate the individual. So here's the thing. If you want to make an impact, let me ask you a question. If you had one person that came to you for help, would you help them? Because some of us, we seem to get activated when there is 5,000, but when there's 5, we're demotivated. Can you preach to 5 people the same way you would preach to 5,000? If you can't do that, you're not ready to make an impact in anyone's life.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's breaking up again.
Wow. Wow. Pastor E,
I can see you. Oh no, the sound is gone. This is terrible. I really don't know what's going on. So I can see you, but I can't hear you. Nope. This is crazy. Let me check of my devices here because I can absolutely, I don't know whether I'm taking up a lot of bandwidth or what. Let me see.
I'm sorry, guys. I think we're having network issues. Hello? Hello? Pastor E?
Oh man, there's something really bad going on here. Carry on. Let's carry on.
I'm so sorry. You know what? I also wanted to say, I feel like there's been a block for young people though. Like I hear what you say, the whole, the young people know what's true. They see the truth and they're able to say, this is not true. But I also feel like in the church, as much as in the nation or whatever it is, especially in the church, I feel like there's been a block for young people. There's not been a passing over. There's not been a training to pass over for the next generation. Because if someone, like for me, if I see someone who is my age and they are speaking about God, it does a punch. The punch is harder than if, like an older person is talking. I'm not saying the old people should go, but I feel like the stage has not been set for young people to speak, you know. And I was having an interview with Kuda, and he said maybe it's because we also have not created a platform for ourselves.
Well, look, I think there are two things involved here. Number one is that we have tended in our churches and or just like we do in political organizations as well, we have tended to raise followers and not leaders. You know, we are comfortable with people that don't challenge us. Same way you're making me say stuff here. This is gonna be crazy. Okay, here's what happens. People in leadership, and particularly church leadership, in fact, even in leadership in political organizations or in corporate organizations, leaders are uncomfortable with rising leaders who challenge them. Let me give you something that God spoke to me about years ago and challenged me on this. I think it's coming up on exactly 10 years ago when we were starting out ministry on our own. And the Lord said to me, and it's a question I was not able to answer right away, and a question I'm still learning to answer, and you'll understand why when I tell you what the question is. And he said to me, he said, Ivan, if I placed a gift within your hands that is bigger than you, and that you knew was going to have bigger and deeper impact than you, would you faithfully nurture it and raise that gift to be what it's supposed to be? And it's a question that I think most of us immediately want to say yes. And the reason I didn't immediately say yes is not because I didn't want, but because I was trying to figure out, wait a minute, why am I being asked this question? And I realized that better leaders than me have failed to deal with upcoming leaders who exhibited gift, who exhibited brilliance, who exhibited a certain amount of energy and passion. And what happens with most leaders is that we tend to try and dumb down the light of those within our circle that we're supposed to raise, that we know are going to shine brighter than us, that we know are going to go further than us. So the church, the political world, and even the corporate world, particularly in Zimbabwe, you know, when people talk about how is it that we haven't had any new big entrepreneurs in Zimbabwe since Strive or since Nigel or since, you know, so and so, it's because we haven't raised these people. They don't happen by themselves. We have to be intentional about it. The church is exactly the same. The church is one of those places that discourages world changers from growing. I think you turned your camera around.
Oh.
Can't see your face. There you go. So I think the church is one of those places that has tended to fight its own brilliance rather than encourage it, you know, rather than nurture and bring you in and nurture and say, right, listen, let's grow together. Listen, let me guide you and mentor you. Listen, you have a gift. There's something happening here. Let's. And so there's a tendency to be intimidated by it. And I think that is the worst thing that has happened to our country, Zimbabwe, in terms of leadership, is that we are intimidated by new leaders. We are not encouraged, we're excited by them, but they intimidate us.
Wow.
And you know, the only way to deal with something that intimidates you is to either run from it or destroy it.
You are dropping it, Pastor E. You're dropping it.
I'm gonna stop.
No, but you know what, Pastor E? I love that. But as young people, how do we break that wall? Because I think this wall has been there for a long time, and it's going to be there. For me, I think the glory of a teacher is in knowing that my student is excelling and will excel and forever excel. But as young people, the wall is there. How do we break that? What should we do?
Well, I think there's a couple in my mind, and this is not an exact science. I think there's a couple of routes to doing this, because even though the blockages are there, even though the kind of pushback is there for young people to rise and to move and so forth, the fact that needs to be understood is that we still need to move forward. We still need to step up and do what we need to do. So I think some of the ways are this, is that number one, if as a young person you are not able to rise within, then there is going to be need for you to seriously think about starting a journey. Let me take you on a very quick detour.
Yeah.
One of the most important things in my life lessons over the last 3 years, and now making sense over the last 10 years and the last 15 years, is that you have got to become sure about who you are without depending on validation from other people. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, there's a place for validation. There's a place for being validated. But you have got to understand that when you don't get the validation, it does not invalidate who you are. It does not invalidate what you are called to do. If people that have either believed in you or sponsored you before do not endorse an idea or do not give a thumbs up on a direction that you have a conviction about, it does not invalidate that at all. One of the biggest problems I had, and I'm still dealing with even now, is I'm 43 and I'm on this journey of leadership. I'm on this journey of impact, generational impact, national and global impact. One of the challenges I still have is that when I have an idea or when I have a thought or I have a direction I want to take, I still find myself going back to certain people and saying, what do you think? And in my mind, there's that little craving that says, tell me it's good. Tell me I'm doing a good. Tell me you like it. Tell me I'm a go-getter. There's going to come a time where that will not be there. Okay? So validation is important, but you have to learn to function without validation. Can you get up and go? Are you convicted enough that you're going to get up and go? Second thing in this deviation is there's something I learned many years ago about lions, and I'm going to give you this principle. It's a personal one, but I think it applies to a lot of people. Here's what happens. In a pride of lions, as the lions grow up, there comes a point where the males can no longer coexist. And what happens is that a challenge breaks out. This challenge breaks out, the younger male is kicked out.
Yeah. My audio is gone. Can you hear me? I can hear you. I need my own network. I need my own network. I need my own network. Oh, man. Yeah. I need my own network, Pastor E.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You got to have your own network and your own network that you run. This
network that I run. Oh man, just for me.
Okay. So here's what I was saying, and I want to say this quick before it happens again. So in a pride of lions, what happens that as the lions grow up, there comes a point where the males can no longer coexist in the same pride. And what happens is that a challenge happens. And usually what happens is that the younger male is kicked out.
Yeah.
The younger male is kicked out. And this is so interesting. This young male then goes and it roams around by itself. And it learns how to hunt. It fends for itself. It makes new connections. It makes new friends. And eventually this younger lion will either join another pride or come back to that pride and be a part of it as the leader. Here's the takeaway from it. Here's the takeaway from it. There must be a season in your life, if you're a person, where you run alone, where you walk alone, where you go out and you start to hear God for you. You start to let God feed you directly. Listen, I've been a pastor for years. I understand feeding people, feeding the flock. I understand looking after people. But if those people do not know how to go and feed themselves, if they don't know how to stand by themselves, you're crippling people. You're crippling thousands of people. You're not doing them a favor. You're doing them a disfavor. You need to be able to know when you are being done a disfavor. Okay?
Wow.
And sometimes it's not the that are wrong, it's us. It's us that are wrong.
Wow.
It's us that don't get it.
Wow. Okay, guys, I'm truly sorry. Really sorry about this. I don't know what's happening today, but I don't know what's happening today, and I'm truly sorry about this. It's never happened before. So I guess,
Oh man, oh man, oh man.
Pastor E, help me out. Can you pray, please?
Oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on here. Listen, we're probably gonna have to do this again on a day where we have better network or something. But you know, if practically you cannot go and speak to the person who leads you, and you cannot come to an agreement about what you need to do, the practical thing, this is not unspiritual, this is very godly. The practical thing is you must then say, I think it's time for me to go in a different direction.
Wow.
You have to have the boldness to do that. You have to have the courage to do that. You remember what I said about courage? What courage is? Courage is the decision to go ahead in what you believe despite your fears, despite what the norms are saying about you. All right.
Yeah.
And so I think going back to the question about young people, you know, what do we do, you know, about getting started, about getting where we need to go? If the agreement cannot be reached in terms of, look, can you train me to go in this direction? This is what I sense. Can you train me? If it can't be reached in that way, could you allow me to do this? Could you release me for a season, then I can come back? And part of the problem is that we have a lot of people in churches. I want to talk about churches because that's the world I come from. But a lot of people in churches that don't allow their young people to experiment. The corporate world allows their young people to experiment. I was at Stanford University for a couple of months on a fellowship that I managed to get access, you know, onto. And Stanford University is right in Silicon Valley, in Palo Alto. And one of the most amazing things I saw is how many people are given the room to experiment.
Wow.
How many people are given the room to experiment? They're given a budget and they're allowed to go and do certain things. And if they fail, they can come back. If they succeed, then that becomes something new and something different. All right.
Wow.
We don't have that. The church doesn't allow its young people space and room. The church doesn't say, I believe in you and I trust in you. I want to give you a budget. I want to give you time. I want to give you something that you can go and try and do. And let's see if that works out. And if it doesn't, you can come back. It's all or nothing. In most cases in the church, a young person says, I want to start this, I want to start that. What happens is the leadership says, you get out now. This is, and then they call it die vision. It's not part of our vision. But what they don't understand is that it's envisioning, because you birthed me in your vision. And so I have envisioned through your vision. I'm growing who you are. I'm not destroying who you are. I'm not taking away from who you are. I'm adding to who you are. But because you're run by fear, but because you're so scared that I'm going to take what you have over, because you're so scared that I'm going to challenge who you are, you try to destroy me. When you fail to destroy me, you run me out.
Pastor E. Oh my word. Pastor, yeah, that deserves a cup of coffee. Oh my word. But Pastor E, like, you know, and relevance to young people. So, you know how, like, now we are trying to dim the lights in church. We are trying to, you know, change the beat of the music to try and capture the younger people. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, how you catch them is how you keep them. Let's start there.
Okay.
Let's start there. Okay.
All right.
How you catch them is how you keep them.
Okay.
And we go back to the question of the reality of the power of God in church or in a church. We go back to the practicality of the word of God in a church setting or in the life of a person. If the word of God was only ever a motivational word to somebody, that's all it is ever going to be.